All right. I'm already grossed out. I haven't even started these clips today. Welcome to HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide. Dear Lord, help us all. CPAC is going on, and I know some of you know this, and a good portion of you don't care. And I think that shows taste and breeding on your part, as we like to say around these parts. Not giving a shit about what happens at CPAC is in its own right a superpower. It's a skill you can develop over time. I've phoned no, like I think I've refined it to a knife's edge, though I certainly am responsible for covering parts of it because it is my current vocation. And by the way, thank you, patrons, for making it a palatable endeavor. Good Lord. So, let's start with the normal parts. CPAC, for those of it that don't know, is the conservative pack of asshole conservatives. That's what it stands for. And I'm sorry, that's not true at all. It's a concise plethora of asshole conservatives. No, we'll figure it out later. But CPAC used to be kind of this like rock star gathering. It was the kingmaker field trip for Republicans looking to be president one day, or looking to at least pretend like they're running for president, hoping to sell some books. And that, in and of itself, was it's raison d'être, as you would. And it's sad, though, that the French don't even have a phrase for raison d'être. And over the years, it's printed a few hits. Obviously, the most recent one in memory is them taking an obscure Odin rune from Northern Europe that, curiously enough, and I'm sure it was a massive coincidence, the Nazis used to wear on their collars to prove that they were, I don't know, ready for Valhalla. But who isn't? And granted, on the one hand, did they choose it because it was a Nazi symbol, or did they choose it as spackle for their weak and depleted manhood, which they are chasing around all the time via Tucker Carlson's ball tanning exercises and what have you? Who can say? I would argue both. But this year's CPAC is, ironically enough, not packed, as you can see. The audience has been dwindling over time, caused by two factors. One is the only Trump is welcome attitude of a good portion of the people who go to this thing. And then the other is the fact that other Republicans can't necessarily show up there to a thing that's really for Trump and bring their supporters and their followers, and have a gathering of conservatives who favor one particular presidential candidate over another, like they have in years past. It must be basically a Trump-only endeavor. And as we well know, Trump is on a hard fade and regularly embarrassing himself as he lines up any number of serious civil and felonious lawsuits and legal troubles that he is headed into. So joy, oh rapture, oh joy. Here's why this one's particularly bad. One is, I have, ladies and gentlemen, never seen a more horrifying collection of face filler gone wrong. Between this and what happened to Eric Bolling, who looks like a Polaroid. All right. There's a trick you can do with a Polaroid that anybody who's ever been on a television or a movie set who has to do continuity photos will tell you, which is and you can do this with your phone, but it's really fun with a Polaroid because you get to wait for it to develop. And the way you do it is you take a Polaroid and you just shake your face back and forth. You just go, and you take a picture, and it will grab one of the stills of your face being all floppy, and it will slowly form into, honest to God, one of these. It will either look like that or like this. These are your two options. And you will laugh with your friends and go, oh my Lord, how awful do I look? I look terrible. This is terrible. But I'm not kidding. I have seen people from 14 to 65. All of them do that Polaroid trick, and most of them end up looking like Eric Bowling telling the three-finger story from The Last Boy Scout to his best friend, half bush, half taint a mustache, taint a beard, Ted Nugent. But for serious and for what? What is going on? Okay. Marge getting filler, we get it. This, I don't know what's happening. Look, do I know that this isn't just the result of standardized bloating? No, I do not. It could absolutely, evil plays havoc on the human body. It could be any manifestation of any number of things. It could simply be that they forgot to turn off the Kimberly Guilfoyle filter that she insisted on when everyone else came on stage. That is entirely possible. It is entirely possible that a bunch of Republicans refused to go on stage unless they put a make me look smoother filter on, and they forgot to turn it off, and everybody looks like they're sculpted out of, I don't know, butter and spam. It's odd. It's really fucked up. Now, obviously, Junior doesn't have it on. He's got the I would go, what's this look called? Anorexia Ellis from Die Hard. This is the I lost 100 pounds. Remember me? I used to be Ellis in Die Hard. I gained a lot of weight and I lost it all with the yogurt and diarrhea diet. We'll cover him in a second. We're gonna go straight to Marge though, because we got to get through this. These are blissfully relatively short compared to the shit that we have to deal with most of the time. Whew. See you on the other side, folks. Give a thumbs up, support the show. Super chats are welcome, bits, and of course, don't forget to subscribe, especially if you're on Twitch. It helps us out. And whew. God damn. These are going to be rough.
Ladies and gentlemen,
and you know who you are.
Please welcome, from Georgia, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene.
This is our music that we got off a free rights. No violation soundtrack. It's almost Americana. It cost us 3 cents and no one has to get paid. Right. Please, you know how much I would enjoy if these assholes just started singing to this music as soon as they walked out. We won't let this woke America thing stop us all from being the greatest. America first and make it great again. And all right, like, I'm dead serious. It's hard not to dance like Rodney Dangerfield. So what? So let's dance. It's like the intro to her shitty, non-existent talk show. Thank you, especially for turning off the lights in here so people can't see that this place is only half full. Amen. Praise Jesus.
Well, welcome back to Maryland, CPAC.
Huh?
We're so excited to be here, and this is such an important...
It's so nice to be here in Maryland, where a couple of white supremacists intended to destroy the power grid just recently. They're big fans of mine. Let's give them a big hand for all the darkness in the room. That's right, so we can make this place dark. Isn't that wonderful?
Time for conservatives to come together, and I'll tell you why.
Yes, because I'm fucking a guy who hosts RSBN, and we come together sometimes we come separately. Sometimes, never mind. I was going to go someplace really hideous.
The left has told us something that should put fear in the heart of every parent, and not just parents, every single person.
Yes, even if you hate children, especially if you hate children, the left has said something terrible, something horrible, something like, here's a clip of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
They've said they're coming for our children.
They have. I think she's referring to the gay men's chorus for that video they did like 3 years ago. What? Yeah. Yeah, it's a true emergency. Boo! They're ew. And it's our job to come on our children. Right, Matt? I'm sorry. That was a low blow. Right, Matt? Sorry, I did it again.
Now, I don't know about you, but when it comes to kids, I think...
Ew. Is she just trying to say the word cum and the word kids as many times as possible in a sentence before somebody throws something? Because I'm already... this is awful.
The Republican Party has a duty. We have...
Cum, kids, duty. I mean, what more could you ask for? It's just... She's using all the double entendre words. I
have a responsibility, and that is to be the party that protects children.
From Matt Gaetz. I'm kidding, Matt. That was another low blow. That's what I'm sorry.
Now, whether it's like Zelensky saying he wants our sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine.
Is that a direct quote? She speaks Ukrainian. I don't. Does anybody remember Zelensky saying like he does with his little face on that he wants our sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine? He doesn't want them to fight there. He wants them to fly over and be euthanized. That's what he does. And he wants our sons and daughters, and he wants them to go there before they turn 18 and then die. Boo! I don't even know what the fuck she's talking about.
Whether it's the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir.
That's what I tell you. And by the way, that was part of their like music video thing that they did, where they were basically addressing conservatives, going like, "We're going to teach your kids not to hate." And they meant like, "You're saying we're coming for your kids, and we are." But to teach them not to hate and whatever. But it sounded creepy and stupid, and they rescinded it, and they were wrong to do it in the first place. And it was a ham-handed attempt, but hardly the spokesperson for all Democrats, let's say.
Literally singing.
They're literally singing.
We're coming for your children.
Literally singing it. And, might I add, with perfect timing and pitch and harmony, I was disgusted. Now, I'd like to introduce my favorite man in the world, who I grabbed a picture of his crotch once at a gathering, Donald John Trump, to dance with me and YMCA. Everybody, young man, there's no place to feel down. There's young man.
Or it's a new, disturbing ideology that tells the most incredible lie that children can actually change their gender before they've even grown up, before they've even finished puberty, before they've developed into an adult, before they're old enough to vote, before they're old enough to graduate from high school.
Before they're old enough to have sex with Matt Gaetz, which is before they're old enough to vote, allegedly.
Before they're old enough to even get a tattoo, put ink permanently on their skin.
Oh, that's what a tattoo is. I've been wondering. For the longest time, I thought it was a character on Fantasy Island. Maybe I just missed you know what I mean? Like, I was like, why would everybody want Hervé Villechaize standing on their lower back? And then now that makes so much sense.
Before they're old enough to buy nicotine, before they're old enough to
just buy nicotine. Like, hey, do you have any nicotine for sale? How old are you? I'm 57. Yeah, we got it. You want a bottle or you want a jug? We have giant compressed air canisters of it. It comes with a hose, and yet never mind.
Buy alcohol before they even graduate from high school. Many of them,
which, by the way, in her district,
before they drive a car.
Many of them before they drive a car. I know, because My kids didn't learn till they were in their mid-20s because they won't move out.
Now, when I ran for Congress, I thought I was running for Congress to rein in the out-of-control spending in Washington, to defend our...
Well, yeah, but then you were, then you supported Donald Trump, who obviously was not interested in doing any of that. Added literally a third of our national debt during his presidency. So, yeah. Wrong ticket, wrong time, lady.
Southern border.
Oh, by the way, she's going to say a bunch of like anti-trans freak out shit and bullshit. You might be baited into getting kind of upset or outraged. A, she says this shit all the time. B, most of it doesn't matter in any material sense. And B, she's aggravated most of the time because of how alone she is in it.
To fight against the radical left and their ideas of bigger government, more control.
Yes, like the Democratic representatives in the state in Florida who are trying to pass a bill that says bloggers who want to write about the government there have to register with the state. Oh, that's Republicans. I'm sorry. The people who want to burn books that's Republicans as well.
To stop funding foreign wars that never do anything for America, but send our soldiers back home either in coffins or with PTSD.
You mean like the Afghanistan war, which I don't know if you're familiar with this, Biden ended.
I thought I was fighting for conservative values.
Instead, I'm just up here booing during the SOTU and knocking boots with conservative talk show hosts.
To support businesses and give our kids a future.
But I just lost interest in that, honest to God.
On day one, when I was sworn into Congress and we voted on the rules package, and that was last Congress, our speaker was Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi.
And to my shock, we had a new rule in our rules package. And that was, there was no more gender. You couldn't say family names, mother, father, sister, brother. You couldn't acknowledge he, she, him, her, because gender was no longer in existence.
What do you think the chances are that if we go back and look at any of the floor speeches, everybody who spoke at some point referred to their family members using father, mother, brother, sister, etc. Or that they referred to their colleagues as he or she or they, if they were a plural group, or had requested such. What do you think the odds are that if we just combed back through C-SPAN, we would find that no one was allowed to use any pronouns whatsoever because gender doesn't exist? Save yourself the time. Horseshit.
We had a big fight on the Equality Act where I ended up putting a sign outside my office door that said there's only two genders, male and female. Trust the science.
Yeah, but those are sexes, not genders. And an important distinction can be made there. There's only two sexes. Gender is an affectation of physical sex. Now, most of the time, they're interchangeable. Most of the time, when you're interacting with your fellow human beings, they are in line. And on the occasion that they aren't, it only takes a minute level of polite effort to correct yourself and be polite to said person. You also have the right, if you find someone to be fucking with you and saying my gender pronouns are this, when they clearly are being sarcastic, ironic, or an asshole, to not have to speak to them in that way. And you won't find yourself in trouble. You won't. But, here's the thing. Being a Christian takes a lot of work. And all of her extra effort is spent fucking up CrossFit exercises. She's got no energy left.
who knew this would become an even bigger?
Also, by the way, that is a annoying sticking point for me. Male and female are not genders. Male and female are sexual aspects. You could say man and woman are aspects of gender expression that stem from sex, but you can also say that, for example, for all we know, and for all, for lack of evidence to the contrary, Matt Gaetz is male. Do I consider him a man? No, I don't. Because to me, the characteristics of being a man involve elements of character, not just biological sex. You could be a guy. You can be a dude. You can be simply male. You can just be that Gates guy. But to be a man and define yourself as a man or even as a woman requires some character traits in the normal parlance of how I use those words. Does that make sense? Okay, we continue. But male and female are referential to biological aspects, not even the mismatch of those biological aspects.
Battle. But then I started to learn about an industry that is turning into a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they have a target, or should I say a victim.
Either one works. By the way, if she pulls off her hair and does a Dorothy Michaels on us into Michael Dorsey, I'm gonna fall down.
You see, their target is not adults that, adults can choose what they want to do. This isn't about adults. We're talking
Oh, yes, I know. They certainly can choose what they want to do, can't they?
about people under the age of 18. Their target for their multi-billion-dollar industry are children. And everyone knows that when you're growing up, think about it. How many times did you say when you're a kid you wanted to be a fireman or a doctor or a police officer, or you wanted to be something when you're an adult, but when you grew up?
I want to be Hal Sparks when I grow up. I know, everybody says it, but few get to. What do you want to be? An actor, comedian, musician, director, political pundit with a sharp wit and a keen eyesight and an almost inappropriately charming smile. That's awfully interesting for a 5-year-old to think that. I don't think that's going to happen. Just watch me.
You became something else.
Uh-huh. Yes, you did.
My favorite thing to say that I did become when I was growing up is I wanted to be a mom. And thankfully, I am a mom.
However, these kids are working my last nerve. I want to be a fire doctor. It's great, Strippy.
But the victims of this industry are kids. And these are kids who are confused about who they are. And they're confused about who they are because of what they're seeing on the internet, what they're seeing on social media. And they're also confused, many of them, because these victims of this billion-dollar industry that mutilates the genitals of children, many of these victims have diagnoses of autism, mental illness, they have depression, they have a...
By the way, can I just clarify something here? Who she is talking about right now, for the record, are not and will never be trans people. People who are confused about their gender identity because of stuff that they saw on the internet, who may change their mind later, are not, listen to me now, are not trans. This is any more than Rachel Dolezal is black. You understand what I mean? So when she talks about this stuff and then tries to lay it on top of trans people or the necessary medical or psychological or chemical support that they need through, physical, psychological therapy, surgery, all that other stuff, that the fact that trans people need that, and the fact that some people, kids especially, might be baited into, while they have other issues, especially autism or OCD, into thinking they are trans because of the internet, does not does not reflect on trans people any more than Rachel Dolezal is, whatever she does is the fault of black people. You get what I'm saying? It's an important clarification. The problem is she is going to conflate it all together in that any kid who is trans for real is going to get swept up in this other shit that she's talking about, and their rights, their needs in real life, instead of being kind of hidden in this cloud of bullshit that might exist, she doesn't care. She's never going to make that distinction. And I am making that distinction, that there is a difference between trans people and people who are misdiagnosed, or people with autogynephilia, which is not trans. That's a sexual fetish that can carry out in the same way that people get surgery to make themselves look like a cat or a fucking lizard. That's a different category. And again, it is not the fault, nor it is the responsibility, nor is it the quarter of trans people. Just to be clear. And to lay this on trans people by her doing it, or to haphazardly include in the world of trans people who have it difficult enough in this life, people who may, fall victim to like online groupthink or whatever, or find their way into transitioning and then detransitioning or whatever because they are not trans, is not now and will never be the responsibility of actual trans people. And the distinction that society has to make at some point in its process of finally understanding and supporting trans people in their needs is that with it, alongside it, but wholly not the responsibility of trans people, will be other people who believe for a time, a short time, or for a long time, and then dial it back that they are trans, or that they have problems with their identity that will play out in other ways. That are BTK would cross-dress and wear a mask and all this kind of stuff to play as victims. He was not trans. He was not even a cross-dresser. He was an autogynephiliac and a murderer. Jamie Gum in Silence of the Lambs, when he would dress up like that and he tried to, like, that has nothing to, he's not a trans person. He was not a trans character in any way. He was a jealous autogynephiliac who hated that women had power over him. That has nothing, even if it looks to the naked eye from Dum Dum's point of view here, that kind of behavior, that kind of psychopathology, that kind of illness, that kind of misdiagnosis, any of that stuff has nothing to do with trans people. Again, any more than the dude who thought he was Korean because he had Korean face surgery and he wants to be transnational, whatever, trans ethnic. That it's an important distinction. It's a distinction that when science and psychology and schools and the society at large, in an attempt to better the way we handle trans people's existence in our society, get slapdash with the creation of rules and whatnot, that creates fertile ground for assholes like this to jump right past the posers and the trans trenders and the autogynephiliacs and go straight to blaming trans people in reality. I'm drawing that line. It's an important distinction, and you should have no fear in making it, because again, they are unrelated. You can believe Black Lives Matter, and you can believe that black people have had it bad, and you can believe in equality of races and want to help, and believe that affirmative action helps and all those kind of things, without at the same time having to listen to fucking a woman in Seattle pretending to be black tell you that she's the head of the NAACP because really, really, really inside she's black. Like, it's not the same fucking thing. And we need to be able to say that. Cool? We cool? Chat, does that make sense to everybody? Does that is that clear? Because I feel like that is a conversation that is only had by the polarized sides staring right past the reality of humans that exists in the middle. Just assholes like her victimizing trans people and using this slapdash bullshit to do it, and trans activists desperately trying to just have a stable and healthy life, dealing with the card they were dealt as they were born, and just trying to make it through life, and society to some degree trying to find a way to make that as palatable and helpful as possible, and be as helpful as possible, without giving literally rapists, male sexual assault rapists, the ability to declare after they've been convicted, before they are sentenced, the ability to say, I'm a woman now, throw me in a woman's jail because they are a violent sex offender who attacks women. But they can just say they're a woman now because in the name of protecting this, we got to let all this happen. It doesn't have to be like that. It's a little ridiculous. Trans people don't expect it. It's an absurd notion. And none of the trans people that I know that I have ever spoken to require society to do any of that shit to make them feel at home. Cool? We cool? We're cool.
Anxiety, they have psychosis. Many of them live in foster care, so they already have lived lives of abuse. And these victims come in
presumably from their original parents, not the foster parents. As an elected representative, it might behoove you to take that into account when you are speaking. I'm going to be super Libra today because of this shit, aren't I?
Thinking they're going to find happiness and they're going to find security in their identity because they think they can change their gender. These boys think they can become girls. These girls think they can become boys. But you want to know what's happening to them? They're given puberty blockers. They're fast-tracked, given puberty blockers that actually chemically castrates them.
Okay. The puberty blockers don't chemically castrate anyone. They are the same chemicals that they use to stave off puberty are used in adult sex offenders in some cases to basically undermine their sexual desires. It decreases your sex hormones. So the impact is not the same thing. Secondarily, right now, giving puberty blockers to preteens especially is an untested science. And unfortunately, because this is the Gordian knot of scientific testing and ethics, is that you can't test it ethically in a double-blind study and check the long-term effects of it, because you can't just experiment on kids like that. So what's happening is there is a live off-market experiment being done on some kids right now. Right? So, the reality is that in a lot of these cases, the gender dysphoria that some of these kids might feel, if they're truly trans, isn't going to go away. And it is also, by presentation, manageable up to a certain point, to the point where they turn 18, and there are ways to handle it. Before that, having a kid make decisions before they are an adult is, I think, more than the secondary effects, the worry that they're going to want to detransition and they've already had top surgery or any of that stuff, which is a concern. More than that, this falls into a category that I have always had a problem with which, by the way, Republicans are in this box because of their own making. And part of it goes with this whole idea of trying kids as adults. The Republicans have pushed forever, as long as I've been alive, that an 11, 12, 13-year-old kid who commits murder or shoots somebody or stabs somebody or is in a fight where somebody is killed or does, some heinous crime, they believe that that child who did that awful thing is capable of logically parsing out the consequences of and the meaning of what they are doing. And therefore, that child who committed a violent crime should be tried as an adult. I disagree. because there is, for a couple of reasons. One, their brain is hardly halfway formed at that age, and through psychological treatment and, opening them up to other possibilities and maybe giving them the help they need. And it might be a circumstantial situation where they killed their abuser or something else. There's a myriad of other reasons that if you try them as an adult, you're basically sentencing this being for the rest of their life based on the decision made when they were 11. The Republicans want this. And here they are, though, at the same time, decrying a temporary block on the advancement of puberty while this kid sorts their shit out, while they go through a couple of years of therapy. Because one of the reasons why puberty blockers are given instead of heading right to surgery or other stuff is because there is a period during which the kids get psychological evaluation to make sure they truly have gender dysphoria and not, say, a series of diseases like she's talking about, OCD and autism and other things. And during that time, in that 2 years when they can get treatment, go, hey, we've discovered that you don't really have gender dysphoria. You're just freaking out in general. And your body is the primary target because you see it all the time. You actually have OCD. You actually have this. You're not trans. It's this. And that distinction is important. But giving them puberty blockers during that time can alleviate the anxiety that here's this thing's coming and I'm not going to be able to handle it. Is it a solid way of handling it? Not really. But it's best case scenario currently. Yes, it is. It is reversible. Exactly. To an extent. And by the way, there should be time limits on how long you can do it before there has to be, all right, we've held it off long enough and you'll be able to transition further at an earlier age. But from, say, 12 to 18, you're not going to be on them. You've got to just go through your bodily processes. There's also another aspect of gay kids, gay and lesbian kids, feeling like because of their attractions at a young age, assuming that girls get the attention of boys and they want the attention of boys, so they want to be a girl, or vice versa. That happens a lot too. And then gay kids a lot of times will grow out of that impulse and recognize they are just gay or lesbian in that case. And were they to be put on puberty blockers and headed down this road, they wouldn't have grown into the gay person or the lesbian that they were going to grow into. They would interrupt it and be sent down a road that isn't actually their identity. And again, when that happens, and it does happen clearly, that still has nothing to do with trans people. It is not their responsibility. It is not their fault. It is not their shame. They don't carry the weight of it. Their situation is unique and real. If other people are confused about their identity, mistake themselves for trans, go through a process and then undo that process and what have you, still has nothing to do with trans people. Okay, I'm going to be hammering this point because it's super fucking important.
Makes them sterile. They're given testosterone to girls as young as 11, 12, 13 years old.
And by the way, I don't know who the they she's talking about is. Most states, most clinics, most places don't start that early. They usually start around 15 or 16 when you're approaching, the age, by the way, that you can choose which parent you want to live with. You can start driving a car, which not only takes your life into your own hands, but everybody on the roads as well, right?
That within 4 to 5 years, some of them are having to have hysterectomies because of the damage it does inside of them. There are teenage girls having their breast cut off. That is a permanent damage to their body. They'll never be able to breastfeed their baby.
I think he just told me they had their uterus removed, more than likely. So I'm doubting. Oh,
and there are boys that are having.
Also, again, like don't make the mistake of taking her seriously. She's doing the cliff notes of a bunch of talking points for these folks without any of the depth of thinking that it requires.
Their penises turned inside out.
I've had that happen once. It was not comfortable. TMI, but I was dating this girl and she was just really scary. And I thought I was willing to go through with it, but my penis said no, and it was trying to back out of the whole thing, and it took it to the next level. I'm just fucking with you. This is so stupid.
These are kids.
Are they?
So last Congress, I did something radical and extreme because remember, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's so extreme.
Yeah, but that's because of the whole maybe being the person who planted bombs at the RNC and the DNC in 1776 and supporting an insurrection stuff. That's the extreme part of it. The rest of it, honest to God, you're just gross. I don't want to honest to God, I don't want to make the mistake again of taking her even seriously in her radicalism. Yay for extremism.
I introduced a bill called the Protect Children's Innocence Act. Protect Children's Innocence Act.
And it would outlaw people posting TikToks going, Joe Biden, you are a piece of shit, because little children are on TikTok all the time. And so being all nasty and mean and wishing, death on people, that should be illegal. So I got together with Lauren Boebert and others, and we passed the law where it's illegal to wish violence and death on our fellow Americans. And I don't know why it failed.
Let me tell you my great news this morning, ladies and gentlemen. It couldn't pass last Congress because, like I said, Nancy Pelosi was the Speaker of the House, and she doesn't believe in gender at all.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, she just doesn't think it's the be-all, end-all defining factor for someone if they're trans. It's malleable enough to be able to absorb it. And again, biological sex being one thing.
But we have a new speaker in our Republican majority in the House of Representatives. And I'm going to be introducing my bill, the Protect Children's Innocence Act, that will make it a felony to perform anything to do with gender-affirming care on children. Yes.
I will say, can we take a moment to look at the silver lining? She does at least call it gender-affirming care, which I find completely ironic. Right? If you don't believe that's what it is, why are you calling it that? Yeah, she's just awful. She'll show you woke play. By the way, it's not going to pass the Senate, and it'll never get signed. And clap all you want. And that said, the National Institute for Health and the CDC are forever, reassessing guidelines on what's possible at what age and the dangers that come from it. And a lot of it's going to be assessed based on how many, again, genuinely trans people go through this and are helped by it, and people who are not genuinely trans, who are, who there should have been a better process to get them the help they needed psychologically or biochemically that was throwing them for a loop and wrecking their life. Because you may very well find, we may find this over time, that as more trans people get gender-affirming care, the suicide numbers for trans people goes down. However, the suicide numbers for people who are identifying as trans who aren't, for these other reasons, who transition and then take their own lives, might equally go up. And quite frankly, this number of people is bigger than the number of actual trans people in our society. And if it grows exponentially, it will tilt the actual statistics towards looking that gender affirming care and transitioning, especially for youth as they get old, as they get older into their teen years or pre or during puberty, it'll skew the numbers to make it look like it's bad for trans people when it isn't. The survivors, the people who make it, the people who will come through this that are healthy will be the genuine trans people whom this helped. And the people who will, unfortunately be committing self-harm and having mental illness accompanying this stuff are not trans again. I feel I'm going to be hammering this all along, aren't I? And look, this comes from, like my logical feelings about this and my desire for trans people to have full and complete lives, and the the trans people that I know, and I refer to them these days as trans because half of the trans people I know refer to it as transgender. The other half of them refer to it as transsexual. They have reclaimed transsexual because what they're talking about is pre-op to post-op transitioning, as opposed to, like the sort of watery, gender non-binary queer movement that is, none or either of the identities, and therefore is in many ways antithetical to the trans existence, because it's telling it the message ultimately of the non-binary world is that trans people are seeking a there that doesn't exist. There is no there for them. That this home you are seeking does not exist. There is no male or female. There is no man or woman. It doesn't exist. So you are seeking something without meaning, which is, for a straight person or a quote unquote cis person, is going to have zero effect on their psyche. It won't. But for a trans person, that's an attack. It's a particularly weird and cruel thing to tell trans people. And I mean, there's so much to this conversation that needs to be had, and unfortunately, it's being had in venues like this.
Right.
By the way, she is wearing a pink top and a pink jacket, largely to counter her butch as fuck identity the rest of the time that she plays up all the time. We're talking about what, a woman versus a man means and blah, 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 and how gender expression is fluid or plays a part in it. Let's be abundantly clear. Marge plays butch a good portion of the time. And when she gets her hair straightened or she throws on extra lipstick, honest to God, most of the time it seems like trying too hard, considering her attitude and how she dresses in camo the rest of the time and all that shit. Like, she doesn't even understand that she's an odd representation of the fluidity of gender.
And obviously, you all agree with me. But it's not just conservative Republicans
Obviously.
that agree with this.
Because Blair White will be talking later on, and Marge will be, I don't know what, telling her to fuck off or spitting in her face.
This isn't a right-wing extremist idea, everyone, that we should protect children from making a horrible mistake, because many of these kids do realize it's a mistake and they hate what they've done to themselves. And then
Right. And those kids are not trans.
they're left with lifelong disabilities by the people that are making billions of dollars mutilating their genitals.
All right, first of all, this is a really weird take on this. I have to say. The idea that this sounds like she's trying to appeal to the big pharma pushed COVID so they could all give us an injection that'll make us all not have babies, right? This is the same shit. I got news for you. There are not enough trans or trans adjacent or trans curious or trans confused human beings anywhere to make this a $1 billion market. I got news for you. They already make women's clothes and men's clothes. If you transition, you've got a lot to choose from. I swear to God. Yeah, I had no idea genital mutilation was so profitable. Well, look, we all know that the women who spank dudes' testicles with a riding crop for a living make a killing on Wall Street. That's clearly true. But once you move into full, or they'll sometimes do the heel stomp. I've heard about that, and my dick just turtled when I even mentioned that. But I'm sure it's a good living. Yeah, it's a nice living, but not so much that you would give up any other great inventions or ideas or business models. You might, I don't know, flipping burgers.
So let's think about it like this. This
Okay. All right. We're going to start thinking about it now.
is actually an idea for all Americans. It's
All right. Let's go.
not just a Republican idea, because people like Bill Maher agree with me.
And he's a super lefty because he smokes pot. That's the...
On this issue, even though he attacks me.
Well, he doesn't attack you. That's not fair. He doesn't attack you. He mocks you, not the same thing. And I got news for you. Mocking someone for being an asshole is not an attack. It is, technically speaking, if you really consider it, it's a defense mechanism against someone who is an asshole in a position of power. Someone gross. I'm just speaking off the cuff. Doesn't necessarily mean you. I'm crushing it. It doesn't, I'm not talking about anybody in particular, ma'am, but if there's an asshole that's, say, in Congress that might actually have the ability to affect the direction of the government, then the rest of us who don't have that direct access and have to work through, our representatives to try and counter it, which is, adds more work to our lives. One of the ways we act in a defensive manner towards it is to make fun of stupid, not an attack.
There's independents, Democrats, Republicans all over America that agree that we need to let kids be kids.
I agree. Unfortunately, one of those people isn't Matt Gaetz.
And while I'm still committed to saying no money to Ukraine, and that country needs to find peace, not war.
They need to find peace, not war. Hey, asshole. They didn't find it. It landed on them. I'm kink shaming? Am I? No. I am by no means, bless you. Somebody in the chat a couple minutes ago said I was kink shaming. I'll have you know, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, as we often say. So, but I can mock it, and I can distance myself from it due to my own discomfort. Look, let's just say, for point of argument, that just like play devil's advocate, let's just say that there's a congressperson who cheated on her husband with multiple men. One so egregiously that he couldn't even go back to the gym he went to anymore. And I'm making this up. No, this is all, the names have been changed to protect the not so innocent. And she literally, to keep her future relationships, has to work out in her garage because none of them will trust her not to fuck somebody at the gym again. And let's just say that during her time fucking, I don't know, one of these dudes, the odds are 1 out of 7 has an odd fetish. Let's say he's a sex guru and he's into hot plates and the Chuck Berry stuff. And she gives it a shot. She gives it a try. I feel the right to mock it and distance myself from it because I'm grossed out. But I will take no measures to stop consenting adults from doing it themselves. That's how I don't give a shit about anyone's kink, but I also don't have to see it. Does that make sense? It is not like this is not your point or whatever. I'm just going into this because it comes up a bunch. I didn't take this from just the comment in the chat in case anybody's like, I wasn't really. Yeah. Just to clarify. At no point does anyone's sexual fetish have anything to do with me. And if you bring it up or show it off in public, I have every right to say if it does not appeal to me, that's nasty. What does a hot plate mean? It involves saran wrap and defecation. That's it. That's all I'm telling you. The rest of it, you'll have to look up on your own, but you're not going to like it. I'm just saying, if she's ever played one girl, one sex guru, one cup, that's up to her. But I don't have to, like, I don't have to be laissez-faire if you show it to the world. Does that make sense? By the way, that goes for pride parades too. If you're partially nude in public, I'll call you out for it. Fuck's wrong with you? If it's at the beach and it's thongs and whatever, that's part of it. But if you're twerking on a float, no, quit it. It's adult behavior for places with roofs and doors. Because otherwise, she would have a side hustle that would scare the living shit out of her.
And while I will look at a camera and directly tell Zelensky, you better leave your hands off of our sons and daughters because they're not dying over there.
You better lay your hands off of our sons and daughters. Okay. First of all, fucko, tell that to Matt Gaetz. Second of all, we're sending gear, you dimwit. And by the way, the fact that she's hit this 3 times in a speech, by the way, that is even listed as, I will make it a felony to perform gender surgery on children at CPAC. That's her primary purpose of this whole fucking speech. The fact that she's hit Ukraine 3 times in this means she's pissed that Russian NRA money is no longer flowing in.
I will also inform the lion that looks to devour, and that lion is looking to devour our children, that our God is bigger. And
I mean, she fucked up the line, and maybe if she was more concise on it, we would go, oh, there'd be a direct lion that we could trace back. But I don't think so. I don't know. Also, your God, which one would that be? Would that be Baphomet? Would that be some sort of...
our God is the God that created us, man and woman. In his image, he created us.
Well, no, I mean, excuse me, ma'am. If you don't mind a little bit of mansplaining, since you called it up, he created man in his image, and you're based on a rib, and from the looks of it, a floating rib, one that was probably broken and healed wrong. So if you're going to call on the biblical definition of things, and if that is going to be your defining factor, I would like to express to you, please go read Deuteronomy and Exodus again, and I guess get off the stage and let the men speak? Because I mean, how do you fall into your own fucking trap that easily?
And our God is the God that created our children.
Well, no, I mean, sure, in the same way that God created, I guess, child molesters then, and AIDS, and fleas, and malaria, and the volcano that killed everybody at Pompeii, and whatever asteroid might strike the Earth, or the scientist that created the DART system that will deflect the asteroid that God intended to hit the Earth with, but had a second thought and goes, shit, I better fill them with wisdom so they know how to deflect it. I forgot all about it. I can't move that fast because I'm God.
And because of him,
he uses he, him pronouns, it's just clear.
We will get this bill passed, and the Republican Party will be the party that protects children from such an evil that I cannot believe it exists in this time. Thank you so much, everyone. Listen, call to action. Call to action.
I want y'all to show up on January 6th. No, fuck, that was the last.
I'm introducing my bill next week. Call every single member of Congress and tell them to get on the Protect Children's Innocence Act. Thank you so much to Matt Schlapp and CPAC for endorsing my bill.
I understand that they're not really on board with the whole fuck Ukraine thing, but I don't care.
Thank you.
Golka, and followed up by Golka. It's Golka. Golka. Thank you. And now I'm going to go get my face filled with marzipan again. That's what to get this kind of fullness, what I go to a specialist, and she uses candy corn. They melt it down, they put it in a little dish, and they add a little bit of pork fat, and that helps it slide in. And they use a horse needle, which I borrowed from Joe Rogan when he didn't have COVID. It turns out he just had worms. You're watching HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide. We're looking at some of the CPAC speeches, and I got to tell you, so far the CPAC turnout very disappointing this year. Very disappointing. Low energy. Bad. I mean, honestly, I think if these guys want any chance in 2024 at all, they're going to have to, I guess, campaign from their basement. And in this particular, the next thing we're going to is, and I think they just left on the Marge filter on Matt, or who can say? I mean, maybe it's just he's carbo loading sometimes. Yes, math is hard. It's hard. Where can I find your intro outro song to listen to? It makes my morning better. I made it up. It's mine. So I suppose I can. I'll tell you what. I'll add it to the list of shit I need to do. But I will put it on my website as a download. When does Dipshit Jr. come on? After this one. We're gonna do Matt. Matt's only 10 minutes, and then we'll go to the Don Jr. Who will largely, these guys will be saying, I guess, a lot of the same thing. But this is Biden, Matt Gaetz. Biden had to ask the Chinese spy balloon for its pronouns. Look, I understand that when you've only got one punchline, you're forced in certain situations to staple it onto setups that just don't make any fucking sense. And this is yet another one of those examples. It like it's like hammering a callback from a bad sitcom nobody watched over and like, oh my God, we're still doing fucking whinging about fucking pronouns.
Ladies and gentlemen,
and children of all ages.
please welcome from Florida.
The place where, the capital of Florida, man.
Congressman Matt Gaetz.
I'm a firebrand coming on down. I'm a firebrand, all walking on. I'm tough as nails, but I look like big boy. I'm walking red carpet, standing on a thing that looks really like a penis. I've seen men slap through a sorry. Apologize. It does look like something that Matt Schlatt drew on a cocktail napkin, and I do mean cocktail.
Thank you very much.
I would like to point out, by the way, that, and I don't know if this is a factor of the camera work there, it could be just shit production, but while there is plenty of red and white and blue in the background, the carpet that Matt is standing on is indeed pink, which we all know is feminine, gay, and not masculine at all, and therefore not America and awful, and obviously will turn you gay if you stand on it for so long. So that's why he's going to be keeping his speech relatively short, because you can't be around pink too much unless you're wearing unironically wearing a pink button-down shirt like a preppy at an elite university where all these guys go, and yet they hate the people who went there. I hope that's clear as mud.
Thank you for that warm reception. If you don't mind me saying so, I think vindication looks pretty good on me.
They're not pressing charges right now because the girl is scared to talk because she might end up in a swamp.
But there is no time to celebrate. I sense...
That's right. There is definitely. CPAC is not a celebration this year.
A true uneasiness around our country right now. Here at home...
Yeah, I got news for you, dude. That's just people when you're around them. All creeps feel that way, dum-dum. there's a great uneasiness. Everybody, I see people, I talk to people all the time, and all of them are like, ugh, and it can't be me.
We see layoffs.
Because I got to say, that is not my experience. I have to say that in my interactions with humanity, life is pretty easy going right now. I'm seeing a lot of happy people when I'm out and about.
Layoffs by the thousands. We're concerned that the jobs for Americans aren't generating higher wages.
Yeah, that's what you're concerned about.
More and more companies are suspending their plans for promotions and capital investment and growth. It bears a stark and concerning contrast to the roaring Trump economy, where we made things and produced things and were the envy of the world.
Okay, none of that is true. Honest to God, what are we talking about? The fucking carrier plant? The USMCA increased production and plants in Mexico. It lowered the tariffs back and forth. It did not increase material production of anything. Manufacturing didn't expand during the Trump years in any meaningful way. And any area where it did, you're coming out of the Obama era, and then it starts to dip down. We head into a recession. The beginning of in February of 2020, we hit a recession officially before shutdowns and all that shit. Does anybody remember, or am I the only fucking person that remembers Trump basically screaming at the Fed to make negative interest rates so that he could refinance the debt bubble that he had put forward and not have to pay for any of it? For fuck's sake. Never mind the jobs lost and the lives lost during his handling of COVID.
And there seems to be no end in sight for the government-induced inflation that the Biden administration would want to visit upon all of us.
Yes, they're doing it on purpose. It's a way of forcing you to consume less. That's the whole goal. I don't have to tell it. I mean, you guys all know that. And if I may, hold on, let me open up the right. What window am I opening? Okay, hold on. The Axios article from a bit ago. Here. Yes, it's the Biden administration that is forcing you to just, take your expectations in life down a notch. Don't get things, don't buy stuff, don't go on vacations, don't explore, don't go on vacations oh wait, you are? Oh, more than you have been in years? Oh, even if it's slightly more expensive because supply chains are being rearranged post-COVID? Yeah, there it is. Right in line with where it was going. Yep. It's up. It even fucking spiked up after a slight normalization. I mean, these all go. Boop, boop. Look at that. Look at that little jump right there. Here's a hint about why inflation remains stubbornly high in January. American spending accelerated after a few months of trending down. Driving the news, personal consumption expenditures data out Friday shows that even after adjusting for inflation, spending rose 1.1% in January from the month before. That's the biggest monthly percentage increase since March 2021 during peak reopening fervor. Why it matters? The Fed's been working hard to try and quell demand in its battle against inflation. Yeah, but the problem is, it's not monetary inflation, fucko. But yeah, so this is all Biden trying to make you aim low, America. That's the goal.
And when we look to the world, it's not much different.
I don't know. It's almost like it's caused by global supply chains. It's almost as if the United States is like doing way better than other people. It's so odd. I don't even know how that's even possible.
We've got a president who stumbles up and down the stairs of Air Force One
and still manages to pass an infrastructure bill.
His policies stumble across Europe. I think
I think that looked better on paper.
I think we had to spend 4 or 5 days asking the Chinese spy balloon what its pronouns were before we were willing to shoot it down.
So I guess the follow-up joke would be, we shot it down because it was a he, and it was white, and it was an attack on a white male. That's the.
And so, in times of concern,
Yes, let me after a cute, vaguely transphobic, anti-Chinese balloon joke that was a dud, quite frankly, that popped even sooner than the balloon itself and sank to the depths of the sea. Let me take a serious moment to address serious issues. That seriously, where was I?
throughout all of human history,
Uh-huh.
people have looked to leaders for inspiration and
That's right. Genghis Khan, Hitler, Shrek, everybody.
courage and guidance.
And Kool-Aid, and orders to murder the neighboring tribe. And
And increasingly, when Americans look to Washington, D.C., we see but husks of humans,
you work there.
vessels through which the foreign interests abroad and the special interests here at home operate.
That's no way to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene.
And so
Actually, it is. Actually, now that I think of it, it actually is. It's actually a pretty good way to talk about it. It's a pretty good description
I am proud to stand before you as the only Republican in the United States
Who can't get any donors.
Congress who refuses all donations from every lobbyist and political action committee.
Because they're too low.
Their money is no good with me. I work for you and you alone.
No, you work for your dad's, a district where your dad has a house. Mm-hmm. Whoops, sorry. I don't know why it didn't play. He angers you? Don't let him. Please. Again, think take a moment to appreciate Matt Gaetz. Hal, you're turd polishing again. And you're right. Yes, that's true. But let's take a moment. First of all, there is a glass ceiling on this dude's career that is thicker than Arctic ice, and is impermeable by a nude swimmer trapped under it. That said, he is relegated to short-term Florida politics and will be hoisted by his own petard eventually. A series of shit decisions of his own making. Just count on it. Secondly, what has been his biggest claim to fame so far, besides being a social media dickhead, which, by the way, he blends in with every other, like Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro and Crowder's gang and all that, and Glenn Beck. What's the fucking difference? They're all saying the same stupid shit. It's a different dispenser for the same shitty toothpaste. It's just a mild variation in vessel. But what's his biggest claim to fame so far? The most embarrassing speaker's race in the history, in modern history, in the House. That's it. He was partially responsible for holding up and embarrassing those assholes for days, effectively neutering anything that they would want to actually get accomplished for real, and only giving in when he was blackmailed. You ain't got nothing to fear from Matt fucking Gaetz.
I am on a mission to change Washington, D.C., because Washington is a deeply corrupt place.
But what are you trying to change then? The depth of the corruption?
You saw the work of that mission during the election of the Speaker earlier this year. And if you believed the mainstream media, we wanted crazy things. We were this wild group of radicals who actually thought we should have a few days to read legislation before we vote on it.
Yeah, but then as soon as you voted on the rules, you voted on things that hadn't been posted for those days. And so far, you have not kept that promise on all but, like, what, 2 bills?
We had extreme ideas, like the bills before our consideration should comport to a single subject, so that I wouldn't have to vote on the farm bill the same time I'm voting on war powers in Yemen.
I can barely read one thing, much less 2.
We thought we really could send a shock through the system.
Isn't it odd that he would bring that up, and some weird thing about how some Saudi-financed Republican insists on funding for the Saudis to fight the war in Yemen, or they won't vote for the farm bill?
With a requirement that the amendments to bills actually be germane to the subject area of the bill. We thought that bureaucrats who...
By the way, which will limit the number of bills they can pass, period, because of time.
...would turn against...
Which I'm fine with.
...the American people should have their salaries singled out so we could vote against them. Imagine if we could have voted against the salary of Dr. Fauci years ago. What a better place America would have been.
Or we'd still be in the depths of the AIDS epidemic.
And instead of governing by omnibus...
And by the way, if you just think that everybody who comes to Florida gets that weird Jeb Bush shoulder flip-floppy, awkward stance, you're wrong. I brought this from the Panhandle fresh.
Where our representatives have to look at some multi-thousand page piece of legislation that spends $1.7 trillion, where you got to vote for the VA at the same time you're voting for the Department of Education, where you're...
Yes, which are obviously no veteran ever fought so that American children could be educated.
You're having to vote for the equipment for our troops the same time you're voting for the woke policies of the Department of Labor. We will never...
Woke policies at the Department of Labor. You mean non-discrimination rules?
Legislate by omnibus again. We will individually consider the budgets of the agencies of our government and give them the thorough review that they deserve.
And by the way, this is going to be a fun year as each of those go through, and the deals that have to be made, and everybody will go, motherfucker. I thought, you know what? It'd be just easier if we had one big fight instead of the same fucking fight every time.
Perhaps
before we pass it, just like we would.
The most important concession that we received.
He watches hours of George W. Bush video to get the mannerisms right.
During that fight was the establishment of a special group of legislators to analyze the weaponization of this government against our people.
Yeah, it's happening. The weaponization of our people against the government. No, of the government against our people. No. Of the, all right, can we, how about that? Yeah, that's a good idea. Can we vote on the salary of individual members of Congress? That's a great idea. That Americans get to vote on, there's obviously a window, fair labor practices, high and low, and the public gets to vote on how much a congressperson makes in that window. And if the people of the state want the person to make more, they can fund it. How about that? I think that's a great idea. There was, hold on one second. Let's see. All right, back up. There was something, hold on.
during that fight was the establishment of a special group of legislators to analyze the weaponization of this government against our people.
Our people. Interesting. Not the people. Our people. Us. They're coming for us. Recently, hold on. The response to the Jan 6, hold on, where is it? Yeah, here it is. Well, this is how well this is working out. House Dems call Jim Jordan's bluff, dare him to have his whistleblowers testify in public. Yeah, come on down, blow the whistle. Don't just throw a whistle on the table as you walk by. Where did this whistle come from? Aren't you supposed to? I mean, you get whistleblower protections. That's why you get them, so you can come out. Then that was, of course, immediately followed by this. Jim Jordan threatens 16 FBI agents with subpoenas after being mocked over his case whistleblowers. House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, who infamously refused to honor a lawful subpoena from the U.S. House Select Committee on January 6th attack, requiring his testimony last year, on Friday issued a letter to FBI Director Chris Wray demanding 16 FBI agents testify before his committee or face subpoenas to do so. The letter is officially from the Judiciary Committee, but was tweeted out by the Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government, which is also chaired by Jordan. The new subcommittee has been the subject of scrutiny and mockery over the past 24 hours after Jordan claimed he had 3 FBI whistleblowers who Democrats, in a damning 300-page report, say have no firsthand knowledge of any wrongdoing. Oh, boy. I love when they drop a 300-page report on my lap for me to read. I'll get to it. Probably this weekend. Democrats are demanding Jordan make the 3 agents testify in public about the so-called weaponization. Raw Story reported a series of reports have shown that Jim Jordan's new weaponization subcommittee is based on lies. Witnesses who appeared at the hearings have spread conspiracy theories about Jan 6. Some have zero firsthand knowledge of any FBI wrongdoing, and some have been paid by Trump allies. New York Times reported at least 2 of the so-called whistleblowers were compensated by a Trump ally, Kash Patel, with get paid with cash or something committee that he did.
Seems like every time I turn around, they're engaged in surveillance or list building or monitoring, and I don't care if it takes every second of our time and every ounce of our energy. We either get this government back on our side or we defund and get rid of, abolish the FBI.
Yeah, defund the FBI. Yeah, run on that next time, asshole. Yeah. Anybody, if I may, any of you folks, and I know the answer to this question, but there's always new people. There's new, people gathering in. Fans of true crime, are you? You ever anybody watch those true crime shows? I'm a fan. I enjoy them. Some are hit and some are miss. Some of them you watch the same criminal or crime or serial killer thing from a different angle. You learn a detail perhaps that you didn't know. What you will find again and again and again in the case of especially missing and exploited women and children, murdered prostitutes, and victims of serial killers, you will find FBI agents especially working for years in some cases to find these guys, and most of them are guys, some of them are girls, and bring them to justice. And the families of these victims, a lot of times you'll see a press conference after they announce that they brought this, where the victims' families talk to, come up and they thank the FBI for finally catching this fucker. Right? And what Matt Gaetz is saying is fuck those people. Remember, the Republicans love to bring up crime victims when they try to push back against defund the police, for example. When they're or push this fear of immigrants, for example. They'll cherry pick incidents where somebody was murdered by an immigrant and say that that's part of the, that it's the immigrant part that made that person a murderer and a danger, and that everybody else with them, that group is of that ilk, as opposed to simply recognizing that some people are awful and most people aren't. And in this particular case, they will talk about, victims of violent crime and how defund the police would leave those people, it would have left them in the lurch, and their child's killer never would have been brought to justice. That's true. It's so true that you don't need to hear it from Republicans. It's interesting, though, that when it comes to the FBI, these fuckers, it's okay to defund the FBI. No, it is not. It would be a terrible, terrible thing. It would be silly and misguided and wrong and dumb. It just matters who's in charge. That was just a chat message that was in there. And Matt here wants to defund the FBI because he knows eventually they're going to catch him. That's why he wants it. This isn't about justice or misuse or any of the other reasons that people who aren't involved in a current investigation by the FBI or have been at any given time wanting sort of revenge at the people who almost caught them and are worried they will catch them the next time around. The average person, when they're talk about this, is discussing about, like, bad agents or bad cops or individuals in that, and focusing largely on that, when indeed, for example, with police officers, 17,860 some odd police departments in the country, over 1 billion interactions between cops and civilians every year. 1 billion. From traffic tickets to arrest warrants and no-knocks and all that kind of stuff. 1 billion times cops come in contact with humans. And pair that with the number of times that awful cops do awful things. It's very small compared to the overall numbers. Same thing with the FBI. Same thing with any large group, by the way, except the Republican Party, it would seem. I know what you're saying. It's a small... It's a dwindling organization. It's getting smaller all the time. But still, the reason, don't let him put a worm on the hook. Why, thank you, Aaron.
EDC.
Bill M. Yeah, but it's daily. Yes, there are 365 days in here. Hold on one second. Okay, so there are 2.7 million interactions between police and civilians every day. Every single day. 2.7 million interactions. Cops pulling people over, all that kind of stuff. I know I turned the sound off for a reason, because I talked to Siri for a second and I didn't want it to trigger. 2.7 million times a day. Police pull somebody over, give them a ticket, exercise a warrant, all that stuff, all across the country. 2.7 million times a day. Does that make sense? You understand where I'm getting with this? Okay. So, again, 7 billion people, right? No, not on Earth, in America. Just in America. Matt Gaetz, do not confuse Matt Gaetz with a true believer or an honest broker in this circumstance. He wants the FBI dismantled because he knows eventually they're going to find what he's hiding. That is not the same as reform. That is not the same as brooming bad agents out of the system. And don't ever get baited into a conversation with an asshole like this, or allow them to lead your conversation about taking the bad out of something and get dragged into throwing a baby out with the bathwater shit because this guy is paranoid that he's going to get caught one day.
ATF, DOJ, every last one of them.
Right. ATF, DOJ. This motherfucker does not give shit one about the number of murders and assaults that don't happen every year because of the people those folks take off the street.
If they do not come,
because he doesn't want them looking at him.
Come to heel.
If they don't, listen to that, if they don't come to heel.
And I don't think it's too much to ask. I really don't. And in this.
Yes, you do. It's too much to ask that we do not have a functioning judiciary in this country. That is too much to ask, you fucking moron.
This effort, I must.
The guy, he brings out the John Malkovich in me. You are a fucking asshole. You moron. Shut your mouth. All right, yeah.
To update you on an important update.
Oh, good. He's going to update us on an important update. Cool.
We have been taking whistleblower testimony.
Not so much.
From brave patriots.
Also, people who supported January 6th. I'm going to take issue with that word as well.
People who worked at the FBI.
Yeah. And wished cancer upon the president and supported the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Timothy McVeigh was a veteran. Those words don't give you an automatic fucking pass. I'm going to assume the best in people who have taken the oath most of the time. But if I have evidence to the contrary that prove they are an awful fucking person, they can fuck off. The same thing, I'll give you a great example, and you'll love this one because, you aspired to be on it, but Epstein's flight list. Look, if and when anyone who turns out flew to Epstein's Island to participate in that awful shit he had there, not smokescreen gatherings that he might have put together to try and balance out so he could, he could use rich and powerful people as a fucking shield to hide behind, which is very possible, but really participate there. Anybody who engaged in that shit, and I'm talking to you, Dershowitz, those folks, whether I like them or not, Clinton, whoever, if it turns out they participated in that stuff, fuck them. End of story. I got enough friends and I got enough heroes. That won't disappoint me. If I find out that somebody was participating in that kind of shit at any point in their life, bye-bye. Right? Simple enough. Even if I can take the disappointment. Trust me. If I go, oh, not them, that'll last about 15 seconds. And then the rest of the feeling will be, fuck that dude. Right? I don't know why that's hard for people to figure out. Right? You done, son. So, same thing with this motherfucker. That's what he's worried about.
And saw things like targeting Americans who attended school board meetings, like labeling.
Okay. I don't know if you've ever seen someone, a parent even, who's attended a school board meeting. Has anybody ever seen that? Of course you haven't, because you do not have the technology that the FBI has to spy on Americans and see which Americans are going to school board meetings. That's how lame this lie has gotten.
People, domestic extremists, because they
threatened to murder the principal of a school.
Expressed support for building the wall or the Second Amendment.
No, expressing support isn't the problem. Calling for Second Amendment solutions to an election that they lost is wholly different than saying, I'm pro 2A. Nobody gives a rat fuck what kind of camo bumper sticker you have on your phony pickup that you only drive to the mall, asshole.
Online, we had FBI agents telling us that they were cooking the books, where there would be normally one case that you would open up on domestic extremism. You had the Washington field office putting pressure on agents to open up separate cases on each individual so that there would be the veneer, the illusion, the appearance that all of our fellow Americans, that our neighbors, were somehow extreme in trying to overthrow our government.
Wait a minute. Let me get this right. Individuals get together and plot something. And the DOJ and the FBI wants those individuals to be investigated as part of the greater plot, and those individuals to be able to be tried individually in the justice system, as opposed to the normal way that we do crime prevention in the United States, which is, I guess, what, just herd people into a cattle car and drop them off at the prison.
When in fact that is not the case. And so
no, actually, what you're saying is not the case.
Took the deposition of a brave patriot named Garrett O'Boyle, who served in the FBI, who shared with us these things.
He was a sharing kind of a guy.
And yesterday.
Uh-oh. What happened? He's dead. He got pushed out a window by Vladimir Putin. No, who?
Judiciary Democrats put out a smear piece on him.
Oh my God, he was smeared? What did they say? They didn't show stuff he said, did they?
They took really out of context portions of his testimony. And
oh no. So obviously you're going to release the entire testimony so you can dunk on them, since parts of it are out. I think the best thing is release his whole testimony so that people can see, right? That's what you're going to do?
They tried to discredit what he shared with us as a whistleblower
because he's full of shit?
He's a vaccine skeptic.
Oh, I see. He's just a skeptic. It's his skepticism they hate. Not what he said, not that he asserted that the vaccines will kill people and it's a plot by the deep state to poison everyone or some shit like that. It's that he's a skeptic. He scratched his chin and went, too many times at a meeting.
And because when the FBI left him without pay and without...
Oh my, they left him without pay. And no kiss and no towel.
The ability to earn other income.
He can't earn other income? Well, first of all, he is earning other income from Kash Patel. Secondly, what? He can't get employed anymore for what? What else does it say in his FBI file?
There were people who gave him a few $1,000s so that he was able to buy a winter coat for his children.
Oh my God. Get the fuck out of here. Buy a winter coat and a scrap of bread. They tossed a shilling into his cup so that this good man could buy a chicken leg for his whole family, and it was like a feast of the... Oh, my...
And be able to meet the month's bills. So we have an active case where we're working to corroborate this information.
Okay, so you have not been able to corroborate the opinions that this guy expressed that show that he made no factual assertions. It's not like you have to check his facts, because insofar as we know, and you could always release his entire testimony and prove me wrong, but there were no facts stated. Good Lord.
To build the evidence, and Democrats...
You don't build evidence. You build a case with evidence, but it's an interesting Freudian slip, I think.
Are obstructing the investigation.
What? They're obstructing. They're not letting you look at what? How?
And so it is...
No. How? How are they obstructing your investigation? How? What are they doing? Do they get to file some sort of writ is there a rule in the Congress that you're not allowed to go read stuff in the skiff if you're on that committee unless you have the permission of at least 2 Democrats? The shit are you talking about?
No longer time to go back to the old low-energy Paul Ryan, Trey Gowdy days of fake oversight.
Yes, by the way, we will take a moment to sidestep our normal conversation to just shit on other Republicans apropos of nothing. because the CPAC crowd was starting to lose interest because they give a rat fuck about a dude who needs to pay for a coat for his kids. They're like, what a poor son of a bitch. Ew, don't talk about poor people. I don't care how he got that way. You'll get it on me.
These are the Jim Jordan, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz days. And if the Democrats are going to obstruct our investigation,
they aren't.
Then I am calling to remove the Democrats from our investigation. They shouldn't be allowed to sit in the depositions and hear the evidence.
Well, I know what you're thinking. That's lunacy. It's horseshit. It's absurd. It sounds like somebody who wants to manipulate evidence before it's released, and his concern is that Democrats will sneak the truth out before they can build a lie, and you would be right.
If they are going to use that to try to get in the way of thorough, rigorous oversight, and I don't believe that means hearings where we yell at people.
Dude, you don't participate in hearings where you don't yell at
people. I think that means a fundamental
Hal, tell us why that's so wrong. Which part? Good Lord. It's fucking gibberish.
Shaping of this government, a reshaping of this town.
You're not in D.C.
So every time I give talks like this and meet with our great activists, I always get a question at some point where people say,
is that your real hair?
Do you still have hope?
Yeah. Do you still have, you seem like, yeah, this is, I mean, I understand. I was telling people for a year and a half, Matt, that Joe Biden was a spitting image doll on an Amazon set, and he wasn't even allowed in the White House, and Trump was still president, and that the infrastructure bill that was passed was actually had Trump's signature on it, and that they photoshopped the version they were on, and then yet every time I turn around, Biden's still there. And do you still have hope?
Can we even still save this thing, this great experiment? And I know we can. And here's what I would say.
He means the Republican Party, by the way, which is obviously something found in a lab in a petri dish that someone had ignored and was the opposite of penicillin.
Say, even though at your job it may feel like you're outnumbered, sometimes even in your social groups, it may feel like you can't wave your MAGA flag at full mast.
Yeah, if there's like Jews or minorities or gay people around and they're a little edgy about, cult-like behavior, it makes them slightly nervous, those moments.
But I saw what a group of parents did in Loudoun County who at first were outnumbered. I saw what pilots did at Southwest Airlines who stood up against the vaccine mandate. I saw what Navy...
Yeah, slowed flights unnecessarily for a while and made it so that they had to step aside so that people wouldn't be trapped in a fucking tube for hours with somebody who might have a contagious disease at the height of an epidemic when we didn't have vaccines yet.
These SEALs did, who got injunctions so that now we are in a position to, in a Republican House of Representatives, restore every one of our military patriots with their full rank and back pay. And all of you saw what 20 members of the House of Representatives did when...
Yes, you embarrassed Kevin McCarthy and made your party the laughingstock of the world. Yeah, it was great. That I was for. Again, the greatest success of Matt Gaetz's career, making his own party look like a bunch of assholes.
We demanded change in a corrupt town. These are different times. They are new times. They call for boldness and patriotism. It is the honor of my life to fight alongside each and every one of you. Go to mattgaetz.com, join my fight, vote for Donald J. Trump in the CPAC straw poll, and let's go get him. Thank you.
Ladies.
Yes, just selling it right to the end. Yeah, it's just, yep, it's gonna be a winner. It's gonna, I don't know more, what more could you possibly say? What How much more awful could
gentlemen.
this possibly? How much more awful could this possibly? Oh dear God. Do we even try?
Can drinking water before bed burn 46
No.
pounds in 2
No, it
weeks?
can't.
If you are
Those are
struggling
chia
to lose
seeds.
weight and
No.
you're over 25, you need to hear this. People
not
are
water.
burning too.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Hello, did he say hello monkey when he walked out there? Wait.
ladies and gentlemen,
Yep, he said hello monkey to Kimberly Guilfoyle.
ladies and gentlemen,
Hello monkey. Barf. Just fucking barf. Hello monkey. That's, yeah. That's...
ladies and gentlemen, Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization and host of Triggered with Don Jr.
Hold on, what is the... I didn't know. The audio is just lower on her.
on Rumble. Please welcome Don.
Here on... Wait. Shit, here on
Ladies
Rumble?
and gentlemen, Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization and host of Triggered with Don Jr. on Rumble. Please welcome Donald Trump Jr.
You walked out too fast, cokehead. That's the problem. I'm using Matt Gates' walk-on music. We've got dude music and dude songs. That's literally what's happening. Excuse me. I don't know why I got a tickle in my nose. I think it's just like when cokeheads walk on screen, it just makes my nose itch. I don't know why. It's odd. I reject it instantly. Thanks. They have dude music and chick music. That's what that is. The chick music is sort of countryfied rock, and the chick music is that, and then the dude music is like shit guitar new metal country. I'm a wrestler. I'm a country music hunter with a big old rifle. That kind of stuff. Hope for everybody.
I don't know, guys, but this feels like MAGA country. All right, so a little surprise for all of you. Check under your seats. If there happens to be a gold chocolate bar underneath there,
Ew.
that's a VIP. Oh, I'm not joking. That's a VIP ticket to my father's reception tomorrow at CPAC. Because your president, President Donald Trump, will
Wait a minute. I've been farting through a chocolate bar all goddamn day and not knowing it.
be here. He's not out raising money from the billionaire Chinese sympathists. Like
Sympathists? Sympathists.
others, you know, Matt, they're going to do that. Well, others didn't show. I was like, yeah, they're raising money from the people who don't necessarily believe in America first.
He means DeSantis, by the way. And I gotta say, that's a pretty janky, shitty gathering. Please tell me that's the last few rows. Because some people are checking under their seat, I suppose, which is going to be a big activity for some of them.
Because they need their money. So who's got gold bars? There's one. Another. You're a lucky man, sir. Any
Any of the chicks with big tits got them? Do any of them? I thought we picked these out. I thought Hans, Booby, I can give them to you.
more? They may do some more. Look at that, another one there. Well, I think you guys will have an awesome time. Yep.
Don't eat it.
There's people gaming the system. What are you, Democrats? You're trying to get under other seats? They're
Yeah, that's you don't get to blame other people for the behavior you're seeing in your own people. That it doesn't work that way.
ballot harvesting, Matt. By the way, my political speech for the day, if we don't start doing the same thing the Democrats do, none of it matters.
Right. So this is, remember when we saw Mike Lindell saying we can't ballot harvest, we can't vote early, all that kind of stuff. It's a mistake. It's a terrible idea. He's talking about this line that Don Jr. and a couple others are pushing.
All right.
And Bannon and Lindell are saying no.
Hey, remember that. Like, we have to be ballot harvesting. For the first time, perhaps ever, we're actually winning on the issues, but we can't implement
Are you, though?
all of the things that we want, like the logical things like same-day voting, paper ballots, ID checks. Like, even the socialists in Europe are like, you seriously don't have those things? Like, they're left.
So, I'm sorry. So you want to get elected to office the same way socialists do? Okay.
Some of the lunatics on the left here, and they're shocked that we don't. But guess what? While we want all those things as Republicans, we'll never get them if we don't actually play the game.
Right. So the important thing I think he's going with is they believe that the Democrats only win by cheating, and so what they're saying is we have to cheat so that later we can win legitimately. Oh, thanks, William.
Right. The left has
I'm not kidding that was the look on his face, by the way.
weaponized COVID.
They weaponized COVID. I thought the Chinese did that. Don't you guys stick to one talking point?
They weaponized the pandemic to change the playing field. And guess what? We can't implement.
Well, if they did that, then why didn't you guys have a red wave?
The things that we want if we're not in control. So in the meantime, until we take over those institutions, usually in the state legislatures, it won't matter. So we have to play the game on the battlefield that they've laid out. We have to start playing the game aggressively like they always do.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't do that, it won't matter.
So I don't know if he's actually floating this for his fucking dad at this point, but does that mean his father's going to start pressuring people to vote early? Because he's been toying with it.
You could have
which is going to turn Mike Pillow against him. It's going to be glorious.
whoever, the greatest candidate in the world, the greatest policies in the world.
Jimmy Carter?
And a guy like John Fetterman would be able to beat them. Hey, guys, I'm the one that's willing to say this stuff because someone has to, because it's insane what's actually going on, right? And when I said...
Yes, it's crazy that your dad was actually president. It's an absurdity, and we all look back at it with some pained bemusement.
Like, I don't know, it's sort of weird that Pennsylvania managed to elect a vegetable. They criticized me as being ableist. I didn't know what that was, but there's always an ist, right? There's
He knew what ableist was.
There's always an ist, and it doesn't matter what you're talking about. And apparently an ableist is someone who discriminates against those with disabilities. I said, well, I'm not discriminating against an ableist. I'd love for John Fetterman to have, like, good gainful employment. Maybe he could be, like, a bag guy at, like, a grocery store but, like, is it unreasonable for me to expect, as a citizen of the United States of America, to have a United States senator have basic cognitive function?
He does, but he's recovering from a stroke. Also, during the time that people are treated for chemotherapy, for example, if they have a particularly bad bout of cancer, or if they have heart disease and they have to have an operation, there are periods throughout our nation's history where people have gotten physical maladies, and this mental health issue that he has is a physical issue. Even his depression caused by the stroke itself is a physical response to something that just happened to him. It doesn't make him unqualified or make his judgment poor. Fetterman's a good guy. Like the president. He means your dad.
You make a solid point, sir. Why should a United States senator be held to a different standard than the president of the United States himself?
That would, the way you're talking about it, technically that would be the same standard that Fetterman, if you're making the case that Biden has dementia and Fetterman has some sort of mental incapacity, both of them keep their job. It's not a different standard. It's the same standard. So
we have to fix all of that.
Yeah, fix it. Yeah. And you know, if your dad ever has a chance to be president once, he'll, too late.
Right? But again, we can't fix it until we play the game their way. The other way.
Oh, because we win all the time? You mean because we're winners? Because we win and do stuff, and because we pass things like the infrastructure bill and...
The way we have to start doing that, folks, is we have to start voting with our wallets. Okay? The number
You're broke.
one thing that we can do to make sure that our values
Yes, he votes with his wallet. For cocaine. All right.
exist into the future is fueling the patriot economy.
Oh, this is his little side hustles that he tries to get, where he tries to sucker maggots into pouring money into Trump's coffers, are failing miserably. They're and oh, by the way, the whole fucking, oh god, I love this. The fucking SPAC. Is it DWAC? DWAC, NASDAQ, give a dog a bone. Hold on one second. Is this older? I'm trying to get the newest one. Hold on. There you go. Whoops. Hold on. Get out of here. The deep dive. Here you go. DWAC, like Donald Trump, stiffs payments. Blank check firm Digital World Acquisition Corp, NASDAQ DWAC, is risking being delisted from the NASDAQ exchange after it's not paid certain fees to satisfy a continued listing rule. While the company said it has elected to file an appeal on the NASDAQ notice of delisting and promised to pay the corresponding fees, its non-payment of necessary dues draws parallel from the recent actions of the namesake owner of the SPAC's target for a reverse merger, Trump Media and Technology Group. DWAC is working on a highly extended timeline to close the pending merger deal with the former U.S. President Donald Trump's TMTG. The company hasn't explained why it hasn't paid for a listing fee. There you go. Online platform The Daily Beast, meanwhile, recently described how Trump still hasn't paid some of the reimbursements to the city police and fire departments from which he secured security detail. In Sioux City, Iowa, for example, the former president still owes more than $11,000 in unpaid reimbursements to the city police and fire departments. You know, back the blue.
Just this week, I mean, this wasn't even going to be my speech until yesterday. I started a news app with my friend Taylor Butterwich because
to take advantage of you suckers and create a slaughterhouse corral for fake news.
I got sick of, perhaps me, because I'm so immersed in this stuff. I knew about the Hunter Biden story, but no one else did.
Yes, no one else knew about, quote, none of us knew he smoked cigarettes in the bathtub. We were all shocked.
It was in the New York Post, which is like the second oldest newspaper in America, but big tech made sure no one else ever saw that article. We now know.
Which almost everyone who wanted to see it saw it immediately. Everybody else had to wait, an hour? Or they had to click on another link?
That like 17% of Democrats wouldn't have voted for Joe Biden had they.
Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. Bullshit. Bullshit. They keep saying this. Bullshit. Everybody knew Hunter Biden was a crack addict at one point. Everybody knew he had a troubled life. Everybody, the idea is 70% would have, if they proved that there was influence peddling that had resulted in China and Russia controlling, or Ukraine controlling Joe Biden, they wouldn't vote. Even at that point, I doubt it.
They heard of this. So, under
Gibberish.
The auspices of...
Just, again, horseshit.
Build your own, right? We've been always told, build your own. Now we try to...
Is that what your dad's been telling you? Is that why you're still the executive vice president of the Trump organization?
Build our own and then...
Yes, build your own. Build your own Trump organization.
Amazon Web Services throws you off. Or
because you're using it to foment a coup.
Apple won't let you on the App Store.
Because you violate their terms of service.
Or Google does the same. They say build your own, but they don't really mean it, right? They're not like, oh, you just do it your own. We're going to put up every roadblock possible.
Well, I mean, obviously there are limits on what you can build and what they will carry. Just because you built it doesn't mean you get an automatic slot. That's not how life works either. You don't get to muscle your way in front of the line of everybody else, especially if you don't live up to the standards of whatever company you're hoping will carry your fucking business. In the same way that if you have a truck that is too heavy for regular roads and you pull off and get measured, they're going to either make you unload part of it or they're going to fine you and take your truck away. You don't get you don't get to go, but I pay taxes on these roads. Yeah, well, so does everybody else. And if you wreck it for everybody else because you're gaming the system.
To make that happen, but we took the advice and we built our own. We created an app that simply aggregates news.
Oh, no. It aggregates news and it gathers fees and also sells advertising to benefit him. It's not that he didn't do this as a 501c3.
SEM news, like minute by minute. We take articles from the left, articles from the right. I mean, I look.
By the way, there's already multiple services that do this. So again, the brilliance of the art of the deal. What's the greatest business model? Take a segment of the marketplace that's already overserved and create a shitty adjunct just for people who already like you. It's genius. It's the Trump water model. In New York City, where you're up against Voss and fucking Sparklets and everybody else, and like, I know, a water brand.
Yesterday.
What makes it better? Absolutely nothing. It just has my name on it.
We had stuff from like Mediaite on there, like not exactly what we'd call conservative material.
Which is probably why your own viewers didn't use it.
And Taylor, while operating the business, goes to check our account balance and finds out that we have zero in our operating account.
Amazing. I mean, this is, folks, I think a lot of us try our best to be a success in life. And sometimes it's obviously it's out of reach for us because there are challenges that we didn't foresee. Sometimes it's simply we underestimated the challenges that we would see. And in other instances, internally, we have an aversion to success that's almost psychological, some wound from when we were a kid that we haven't dealt with that makes us incapable of being successful in an arena. And yeah.
There was about $750,000 in there the day before.
Huh. It's almost like you're a failure.
Calls the bank, he calls me, he's like, we have a problem. Yeah, that's a problem. Like, that's not good. Calls the bank, finds out, oh yeah, you'll get a cashier's check in a day or two. What? Like, what do you mean? Yeah, we closed out your account. I was like, wait, PNC Bank. Okay,
Boo, PNC Bank. Hold on one second, if I may. Type Public Security Bank Financial Service Pittsburgh National Corporation PNC one of my key people Williams Revenue total number of employees, subsidiaries, PNC Bank, capital ratio 10 point, capital footage on the website, pnc.com. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so just a Pittsburgh-based bank, good old PNC Financial Services. Reasonable size bank. Why they had their accounts there, I don't know. But, yeah.
Yeah.
Boo,
like, this isn't
Pittsburgh.
And by the way, it's not like we're creating news. You know, like if I was talking about the Wuhan lab leak story as the most obvious thing in the world for the last 2 years, which I've been doing, like, I'm not even creating that. But because I'll show you the New York Times alongside a Breitbart and let you make up your own mind, that still to them is apparently an offense.
No, it isn't. That I guarantee whatever fucking reason they dropped them had nothing to do with the content of the app being too balanced.
Think about
that's just like, and at this point, I don't know how this motherfucker doesn't get sued by PNC Bank.
that. PNC Bank, a major national bank, but we've seen it all, right? I had Chase cancel something to do credit card processing, I think it was, for something I was speaking, because I was speaking at an evangelical event. Now, we understand, based on the testimony of Chris Wray the other day, that apparently, like, practicing Catholics are domestic terrorists.
Joe Biden is a practicing Catholic, you fuck.
Just like concerned mothers not wanting their children to be indoctrinated with critical race theory.
By the way, no, that was not the problem. It was the death threats, fucko.
Not wanting their children to be pressured into permanent life-altering sex change surgeries by their rainbow-haired teacher without parental involvement or consent. You know, those aren't people to worry about, but...
Well, again, nobody has a problem. No one ever had an issue complaining about that at their school board meeting that happened. Nobody. Threatening to murder someone because of it, that's where you'll draw attention.
Practicing Catholics, concerned mothers, those are the real...
Yes, just for being Catholic or being concerned, that's a crime in America now.
Threats, you know? Remember the guys that always commit the crimes? Like, yeah, they were on our radar. Yeah, they were on your radar, but you were too busy monitoring someone's grandmother who was within 500 miles of January 6th in D.C.
Yeah, whatever.
You know,
he said parts of this last year.
Doing their actual job, but this is the FBI. You'd think, no way, they're above reproach, but the FBI is doing it. We've seen the DOJ.
Again, the FBI is doing what? Making you lose your account with PNC? What the fuck was their reasoning? Hold on. Maybe there's a news story about it. Hold on. Let's see. Maybe they didn't comment, but PNC drops Don Jr. Blah, blah, blah. Donald Trump's news. Okay, news company dumped by. This is a Newsweek article. Don Jr.'s news company dumped by PNC Bank. Donald Trump Jr. on Thursday said PNC Bank informed him it will no longer be working with his news aggregation app during the live broadcasting on Newsmax. Okay, he said this can't go. Made the comments at the among the speakers at the event. Okay, blah blah blah. Trump told Bachmann that he got an interesting letter from the bank this week before relating the letter's message to cancel culture that's going on in our country right now, the weaponizing of corporate America. At first, Trump told Bachmann he'd provide details about the letter during a CPAC speech, but he soon divulged the message that allegedly came from PNC Bank. I'll drop it here first, he said, adding that the letter was about business dealings with MXM News, which is like M&M News. It's weird. Okay, a conservative news aggregation app he launched. Basically, PNC sends us a letter, not even a phone call. It's like the breakup through text, a letter that with a cashier's check for, what we had, a significant amount of money that we had in an account for a news aggregator, not even someone producing right-wing propaganda, but something that takes all the news to make sure you all see it. Trump did not provide details about why the alleged letter was sent, and the context for why PNC Bank allegedly wanted to stop working with MXM News was unclear. When reached for a comment, a representative provided Newsweek with a statement. While PNC does not comment on the closure of specific accounts, which may occur for a variety of reasons, our account closure decisions are never driven by politics. As a national bank, we recognize and respect that our customers and our employees hold a wide range of political beliefs. On Friday, they followed up with another statement that was posted on Twitter in response to a tweet from Trump on the account closure. Account closures can occur for a variety of reasons, but are never influenced by political views or affiliations of our customers. We've looked closely into the circumstances surrounding the closure of ROC Digital LLC account and determined it was mistakenly closed due to a good faith error. We have reopened the account and we apologize for any inconvenience. Along with MXM News, which Trump launched with Taylor Budowich, who once worked as a spokeswoman for Trump Sr., the younger. Okay, so it's not even closed.
We've seen the treatment of the January 6 prisoners.
They're not prisoners. They're in prison, but they're not prisoners.
Now watching our banks do this to us.
Make mistakes.
Guys, we got to fight back.
Yeah, you got to fight back. We all pick up your pitchforks. We're all heading to Pittsburgh.
I said it on this probably stage last year. It's like,
yes, you did. You're a repetitive fuck who always says the same shit.
They could take out the most powerful man in the world, the President of the United States, like they did to my father. Because if you have one guy going out there by himself, all the slings, all the arrows can be...
Well, it's... At some point, if it's one guy going out there by himself, it would seem, if I'm not mistaken, it would seem that he has no friends and no ultimate support other than a clanging chorus of cultish sycophants, which aren't particularly interested in any kind of direct policy, are just supporting the man in general. And so when he tries shit on the actual, he has to butt up against people who are actually trying to accomplish real things in the world, and he has no answer to why he wants to change or affect change in these areas, and so he catches shit for it. And he's gross at the same time.
Put on that person. They cannot do it to us if there's 175 million Americans willing to stand up for themselves.
175 million? Mm-hmm.
For
we are.
Decency.
Dude, for the record, not only are people not standing in this situation, they're not even sitting. There's a shit ton of empty seats there, and a good portion of some of these folks, like that guy's on his phone, this girl's filming. That like half the people are there, like I'm doing a project for school. Look at this, like the young. It's like an evil Ben Glebe. This looks like Chloe Sevigny like playing a character in a MAGA documentary style movie. This looks like Rittenhouse when he gets old. This is what Rittenhouse is going to look like. And then these folks are at everything. And then this dude's like, I'm wearing my MAGA hat and going to the thing, Martha.
For our values.
2 people stood up. 3.
I mean, think about what we're up against.
He got a standing ovation.
A major U.S. bank was able to cancel, and just canceled, our ability to do banking. We didn't even get a call. It was like getting broken up with by text. Like, no reason. It didn't matter what, hey, you're letting people, it wasn't, again, we're not even creating news. We're aggregating it. Check out MXM. You'll actually see both sides of the story, and you can formulate your opinion. And I'm so confident that we're right on our side that I'm willing to actually let you see the leftist viewpoint, because you will realize that they are insane.
Well, also, for the record, one would have to trust that a hyper-partisan with an axe to grind over his father's failures, when he sets up an aggregate service, may, in fact, pick a variety of right-wing and right-leaning articles that are based on a broad spectrum of ideas. So from Brett Baer to Jimmy Dore, all the right-wing that's fit to, gorge, and then only pick like libs of TikTok and Jacobin level left-wing stuff intentionally to go, see, we go, obviously we have our firebrands like Matt Gaetz, but we got a lot of middle of the road. They're just crazy. So the idea is the idea that you would trust his algorithm is absurd.
Why aren't they willing to show our side? Because they too realize that they're insane.
You mean Fox?
Right? So what we have to do is we have to be involved in this. It's sort of amazing. I think Michael Seifert's here somewhere from Public Square. Another one. Great guys. San Diego-based company. He was sitting there at home. He was sick of going to a coffee shop that was taking his hard-earned dollars and giving it to leftist radical causes that would throw any one of us in the gulags, with or without cost, right? They would do it just.
That's a very powerful coffee house.
Because of what we believe. So he created a list of the conservative companies that shared his values, turned it into a website, and now Public Square has gone national. They're actually going public. But we have an obligation if we want to exist.
I think he's a partner in Public Square, if I'm not mistaken. Which, hold on. Yeah. So, I'm sure you guys have seen situations where influencers get into trouble, like when the people that got in trouble for selling crypto, like the FTX stuff. Remember that? Because they didn't disclose that they were being paid a fee. They weren't users. and that happens a bunch with influencers. Like it includes paid promotion, has to be included on something so that people don't, if you just go, yeah, no, this is my favorite fart gun in the world and I'm not paid by Big Fart Gun. This is the best one and I encourage you to pick it up using my promo code, right? That they're not selling something to you under the table or behind a veil. Check this out. The anti-woke patriotic marketplace set to go public in a $200 million deal project backed by Don Jr. promises to promote a firm that represent freedom and vows to stop Americans giving money to businesses that hate them. Company launched nationwide 7 months ago and now has nearly 50,000 patriotic vendors and has processed millions of transactions. It's now drawn in conservative heavyweights like Don Jr. and Blake Masters. People need to stop giving their money to businesses that hate them. We aren't going to defeat woke corporations by whining on Twitter, Trump Jr. said. No, you have to whine on Truth Social, I suppose. San Diego-based company, now drawn conservative heavyweights, who serves as an investor and an advisor. Former Arizona Senate candidate Blake Masters, who's an advisor. So what he just did was just talked about this as it's an American success story, man. It's just, it's just people bootstrapping and not disclosing that he's a partner in it. This is a grift. What is this asshole doing but dropping the name of all of his products at CPAC? So far, that's all. I wasn't going to talk about this, but that thing I'm trying to squeeze money out of you fuckers with? Well, here's another one.
To support those kind of businesses. You're going to...
Yeah, those kind of businesses. The two that you've mentioned where you are a direct partner in.
Search it anyway, right? You're going to go on Google and find out what's the restaurant. I did it last night. Okay? I had a table of 20. I called at 8 o'clock, said, hey, we need a reservation. We got on Public Square. We found a restaurant that signed up because I know I could go there and not get booed, even in D.C. I won't mention the restaurant because they'll probably get canceled if I do, but it was sort of nice for me. We walk in, we're with Carrie Lake, and we're with Matt Gaetz and Nigel Farage. Like, it was a pretty conservative crew. That would have had a hard time probably eating in D.C. without getting yelled at. Now, I do well with that, but it's fine. But sometimes you want to just avoid.
Yeah, he's literally this is an infomercial for this shit.
And so we were able to find that. We have an obligation.
You were able to find that? No. You are an investor in this, and you're just trying to get the CPAC audience to use a product.
To get out there and support.
And by the way, grift the shit out of these fuckers. I give a goddamn. When it comes to voting, I'm a purist. You guys know that. But if these motherfuckers want to bleed each other dry, if Trump wants to pardon Steve Bannon after he rips off maggots in particular for his bullshit fake build the wall campaign, I don't care. Do you? No. I'm not going to jump between them and a Nigerian prince either. If you want to be a gullible fuck, that's up to you.
Those kind of businesses. Because again, once we show the other side that there is pain in their wallets, I have to say that because someone will aggregate that and say that I was advocating for violence. No, but they can cancel us at any second. I mean, imagine being a guy at a bank being like, you know what, I'm just going to cancel Don Jr.'s news app. What could happen? And I have a platform of like 10 million people on Twitter, millions on Truth, millions on Facebook and Instagram. Like, I have
of the same people who I've already bled their accounts
the ability
dry.
To fight back. And I did, and I put it out there, I put a tweet, and we had some pretty powerful people jump in on this, like the Speaker of the House. I would not have wanted to be PNC's bank's comms guy last night. That was probably a long evening. But again, they probably knew at least some of that was capable, and they still don't care. Right? This morning, right as I was getting on stage, it was a mistake.
Oh, so all right. He even knew it before he started this shit.
Upon further review, bullshit. Okay? It wasn't a mistake.
You're right. They reviewed your financial numbers and they fucking sucked, or you were over leveraged with the credit you have with them, and you used Kevin McCarthy to pressure them to reopen your account. They have an automated thing. I guarantee their debt to income ratio was fucked up. Okay.
Have you ever Have you ever noticed the mistakes only go one way?
Yes, I mean, I think your dad considers you a mistake. Is that what you're talking about?
You know, so go check out Public Square.
Help us make money.
Check out MX.
Let me take this non-issue that lasted all of 24 hours that could have been handled with a phone call and turn it into a way to, like, try to get you off woke Yelp.
Support those businesses that support your values. Put their kids through soccer camp and soccer practice rather than funding, 10-month abortions.
Yeah. 10-month abortions. I don't think any of them have ever lasted that long.
You know, some of the insanity that we see on the other side. Again,
you don't see that insanity on the other side. If a woman is pregnant for 10 months, I'm going to guess there's no doctor around to help birth the child, much less get rid of it.
have a choice. Exercise it. But you know the other side is they're willing to do it. They don't even care anymore. Look at this. Another perfect example. Glenn Story right here from Patriot Mobile. I promise you folks, raise your hand if you don't have a phone. Well, I got to keep my phone away because I know, like, I'm on every FBI list imaginable, so I just got to keep it away because, like, they're going to drone me one day. Like,
what the fuck? You are not that important, asshole. The FBI doesn't drone anybody, for one. And by the way, you keep talking. It's 7 minutes and 25 seconds in. He says he has to keep his phone away from his body because they're going to use it to track him, to drone him. What the fuck? All right. Hold on. Whoops. Shocked, I tell you. And by the way, there's the guy who said he has no phone. That's the guy raising his hand. He's not raising his hand because he doesn't have a phone. He's raising his hand because that's the guy from Patriot Mobile. America's only Christian conservative wireless provider, Patriot Mobile, is proud to partner with Donald Trump Jr. in the fight to defend our freedom. Use the promo code Don Jr. for free activation. Christian conservative wireless service provider. Does it have like a porn blocker on it? Of course not. I'm kidding.
you all have a phone. You all are going to use it. Well, you can give your money to AT&T, who has in the last month tried canceling Newsmax.
Did.
Who the month prior to that took off OAN out of millions of homes.
Because they were using up space they couldn't afford. They were getting it ahead of other people who wanted the space and would pay more for it.
The parent company is actively attacking conservative mindset. Again, nothing.
They're attacking the mindset.
Extreme. It's Newsmax and OAN. It's just this stuff that we all believe. That's extreme. We can't let them even have an opinion. We can't let them have a voice. So if you're going to have a phone, you can give your money to AT&T and watch it get weaponized against everything that you believe, or you can go to Patriot Mobile. Like,
use promo code Don Jr.
It's that simple. But we have to start thinking this way, folks, because if we don't, it's...
Yes, the important thing is that, think like the Chinese Communist Party. Think like the CCP. The whole goal of the Republican Party now is to put a cloche over the entire party. It's not enough to live in a bubble. We've got to codify that bubble. We've got to steal that bubble.
It's over. It's not just about the political landscape. We discussed ballot harvesting again. That's number one, right? There's a reason you can win House seats because that's so localized, but you can't win the national because you can't go to California. There are people in Pennsylvania, I guarantee you, that have no idea who was even running for the United States Senate that voted. That's true.
Based on what?
Of course. Because you could not listen. If you listen for 5 seconds to anything John Fetterman, you said, okay, he's clearly unfit for office. Like, that's not, like, you don't have to be a doctor to be like, maybe there's something wrong. The Democrats knew he had these issues, and they ran him anyway. By the way, they had so...
First of all, no. He had a stroke during the campaign.
Who I probably don't agree with on anything, but was like at least like able to function. Maybe not quite as radical. Connor Lamb. They could have ran him, but they knew even in the primary that this guy had these issues, and they ran him anyway because they want a radical extremist that wants to release murderers. And this is the party of the left today.
Yes, the left of Pennsylvania.
Right? There are still incredible, great, moderate Democrats.
He managed to win a statewide office.
That's in America, but they have no one representing them. Because you can't win if you don't espouse the lunacy of the left today. You can't get...
You do recognize that Joe Biden was running against Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and Tulsi fucking Gabbard. And he trounced them all. And at no point was like on board with defund the police or any of that shit.
California, New York, Soros.
You won't even get close to the reins of power. Oh, he's president. Oh well.
Whatever it may be. And win. You see the prosecutor just this week who misgendered a biological male in San Francisco, I guess it was, and Soros funded George Gascon, punished this prosecutor for misgendering a child rapist. The child rapist doesn't really need the punishment. The prosecutor who misgendered him is the one that needs to be taught a lesson. That is America under Joe Biden.
No, it isn't. That's San Francisco under that particular DA. But also, misgendering someone in a public setting in a legal proceeding has nothing to do with the individual that you're doing it with. It's not about interpersonal politeness. That's about a standard that San Francisco has in general because of its constituency.
That is America under Democrats. That is an America that none of us recognize. And it's an America that's going to stay that way if we don't fight back and say enough is...
Oh, thank you, William O'Connor. Appreciate that. And thanks, Blue Moon. Appreciate it, Bethany. Happy birthday tomorrow. Donating some money for fixing the computer. Thank you. And to buy kitty treats. Well, we're not at the kitty treat part. We're still at the medical bills part, but I greatly appreciate it. It will go to making her Chud's life better. Thank you, Sparklers. Let's keep it going. Thank you, Nubia. Oh my gosh, you guys. Luna, thank you so much. Twisted Coconut, thank you guys. Wish it was a couple thousand instead. Oh, that's sweet. I appreciate it. I'm waiting for the one big whale. We'll find it one day. Blue Karma, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. And Francie, thank you for gifting the subs. Thanks for the follows, guys. I appreciate it. Okay, we'll continue. No. We're almost through this. Yeah, it's a little sparse there. I gotta say. Not a lot of youngins.
So guys, that's our message, right? We need a president that is not owned by other people.
Your dad has more debt than almost any human being in the fucking country. Foreign debt. What the shit are you talking about?
Right? There's a reason the billionaire class, even the billionaire conservative news class, wants someone other than Trump. It's because even if they hate Joe Biden and they hate democratic social principles, they know that the economy does better under a Democrat. And even with more regulations and higher taxes, they're going to gain more money than if they let somebody like Trump back in and he cadavers the fucking economy and the populace like he did last time. They want someone that needs them to take their call. You know, there's a lot of the billionaire class, even on the Republican side. It's like, yeah, we're really hard on China, but like, don't be that hard.
Oh, you mean like your dad getting his ties and hats made there and his American flags?
Like, we still want our widget for a quarter-cent cheaper, and we'll destroy the American middle class to do so. Make no...
Excuse me, like, point of order, Mr. Chairman. Joe Biden's Made in America rule for the infrastructure bill is one of the single strongest pushbacks against items and materials purchased from China since the opening of China. The CHIPS Act, they just fucking yesterday, hold on one second. I put this out earlier. I think it was on Bloomberg, I want to say. Get back here. go back to the original page. Hold on. Dink. Main page. Hold on. Let me see. I'll find it in here. Hold on. I'm looking for an article that came up. Hold on. There's a couple things. Whoop. One thing. Let's see. It was just up today. Okay, hold on. I'll search for it. Let's see. China. Let's see if the newest one. Where the hell is it? Anyways, the basically the maybe it wasn't on that on there. Okay, hold on. There's a today. Hold on. Biden new rules. China companies. Blah blah blah. Biden plans to news. This will be the news. Biden semiconductor plan. Okay. Yeah, 12 hours ago. This goes out. I'd like to send this little song out to everybody. This is in lawfare. I'm going to send this little message out to all those Biden's owned by China assholes. On March 2nd, the Biden administration released its long-awaited national cybersecurity strategy. The new strategy comes more than 2 years after Biden took office and more than 4 years after the Trump administration issued its national cyber strategy in 2018. The release also occurs in the wake of a range of significant cyber intrusions and ransomware attacks, including SolarWinds, Microsoft Exchange, Colonial Pipeline, and JBS Foods. And while the strategy's publication may be belated, it was preceded by executive orders, strategies for meeting cybersecurity standards, and other law enforcement and international efforts undertaken by the Biden administration to improve the nation's cybersecurity and disrupt activities of threat actors. As the national, let's see, where I want to say it'll be in here, the companies, because they just added on top of the CHIPS Act. Here you go. Pillar 1, defend critical infrastructure. In the past few years, they've 16 sectors, did it again. Hold on. I'm going to try and go back to here. Yeah, here it is. I think this is the new one. U.S. expands crackdown on China export ban on Inspur and BGI. So Inspur is a leading server maker that competes with HP and Dell. BGI is cited for alleged role in human rights violations, meaning that they were giving machines to China against the Uyghur sanctions. Biden administration on Thursday announced export restrictions for dozens of Chinese entities, including server maker Inspur Group Company and units of genetics firm BGI. These are they can't get American servers and American tech. Citing activities contrary to the U.S. national security and foreign policy interests, the Commerce Department added a number of companies to the so-called entity list for acquiring or attempting to acquire U.S. origin items in support of China's military modernization efforts. The department also cited companies providing support to Russia's military and supply-sanctioned parties in Iran. There it is. Boink. This, to all those Biden is owned by China crowd. Fuck you, you dumb son.
No mistake. Okay. I want the guy that doesn't need to take that call. That
his dad is fucking broke.
Isn't entirely beholden to them.
He's not beholden to the donors. He's beholden to whoever backed his loans.
That is showing up to speak to the people, not showing up to speak to those who would rather go much softer on China.
By the way, that's a slam at DeSantis.
I didn't need this job to begin with. My father certainly didn't. It was a lot easier to shut the hell up for me and be a real estate developer from New York.
Yeah, something you never were.
Unfortunately for the Democrats and many rhinos.
My dad is the lowest rated single term president in American history, and we'll never get another bite at that apple.
And many. That is not our style. So, guys, don't forget to vote in the CPAC poll, but most importantly, right now, vote with your wallets. Support the.
Yeah. So this is an infomercial. I'm not even gonna let him fucking finish the sentence. Fuck that. Sorry. Whoops. Where am I? Hi. I'm back. Oh, my lights went out. I did that on purpose. Sorry. I did the wrong thing. Hold on. Hi. I grabbed it fast enough. Hey. I got to take off. It's the end of the show. See you tomorrow for the radio show. I've got to start prepping now for that show tomorrow. Philip Bittner will be joining us live from Kiev. We'll be covering a bunch of that stuff. Obviously, the story in Bakhmut will. There'll be more information coming from that as we move forward. But I increasingly want you guys to know that I'm going to. Kimberly Johnson's going to be a guest on Monday. I am going to, as best I can, try to increase the number of guests I have. I know I keep saying that, but I've been working at it, and I'm just redoubling my efforts. And Kimberly will be with us on Monday to add to that, and I think it'll be great. And then we've got somebody on Wednesday. Philip will be with us on Wednesday, and then I'm going to try to get somebody on Friday. That said, have a great night, and I will see you guys for the radio show tomorrow, the HAL Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.